Good afternoon. Getting right down to business here. We're doing it live and doing more at 4 every weekday afternoon, right after Guy Benson at 3 and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz at 5 with Randy Wang. Mottek On Money live on the air now on 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com. And yes, the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. Stocks did move lower today after a positive start. Investors taking in the latest readings on the economy. We got that from the Federal Reserve today. All this ahead of NVIDIA earnings, which was the main event after the closing bell today. The Dow came in for a closing loss of 245 points at 42,099. It looks like Merck and Nike weighed the Dow down today. The S&P 500 closed down 33 at 5,889, and the Nasdaq slid nearly 100 points at 19,101. The yield in the 10-year note at 4.48%. After the closing bell, NVIDIA reported better than expected first quarter revenue, while adding it expects to see an additional $8 billion charge on losses tied to its H2O chip in the second quarter. Its stock is higher in after-hours trading by about 3%, up more than $6 to 140 and change. Earlier, we got the notes from the Federal Reserve's last big meeting in May, showing policymakers acknowledge they could face difficult trade-offs, in the words of the note takers, as tariffs potentially threaten their dual mandates for price stability and maximum employment. Nations are now racing to cut deals with the Trump administration to avoid the planned tariff hikes. India reportedly the latest to offer to lower its own tariffs on some U.S. products. Meanwhile, the president rejected an emerging notion on Wall Street that he is chickening out with his on-again, off-again tariff moves. We'll be talking more about trade coming up here later this hour and what's happening specifically at the Port of Los Angeles. We'll be speaking live later this hour with the one and only Gene SROKA, who leads the largest container port in the United States. Gene SROKA, who happens to be the chief executive officer at the Port of Los Angeles, will give us an update. The tariff back and forth sending chills for the Southern California port economy, declining shipments, taking a toll on dock workers and truckers, according to the Wall Street Journal, following a sharp drop in imports into the ports of L.A. and Long Beach. I'll be discussing the very latest with Gene SROKA live later this hour. On real estate this afternoon, we got the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller report this week on home prices, and the new readings on mortgage rates have also come out. We'll get the latest on all that with Jeff LAZERSON, the president of MortgageGrader.com and Orange County Register real estate columnist. But first, on your money, the markets, the economy, NVIDIA, and the whole works now. Joining us live, Gabriel Wisdom, Managing Director at American Money Management and author of Wisdom on Value Investing. Gabriel Wisdom, thank you very much for coming to the line here this afternoon.
My pleasure, Frank. You know, a month ago we were talking about a number of economic and political disconnects that are so counterintuitive. Some markets were reflecting the rising levels of panic that we've gotten used to. The risk appetite was deteriorating, and the president's proposed sweeping tariffs on auto imports sent markets into a tailspin. Now we have $7 trillion in cash on the sidelines. That's a lot of dry powder. So, and economists are once again debating odds of recession. We've been doing this for 3 years. So what really happened today? Well, we reversed the big gains of yesterday, but we left most of it on the table still. This is a reminder that these pullbacks are very shallow due to the excessive cautious nature of especially professional investors. It looks to me like we may just have a V-shaped recovery in the markets and the economy, as opposed to a W, where you go down, then you go up, then you go down again, you stay down for a while, you have a recession, then you finally recover. This appears to be a V-shape.
On the air live with money manager Gabriel Wisdom with American Money Management, based here in Southern California. We did have the 700-point pop yesterday, down 245 today. A lot of people are unnerved by this volatility, which we haven't seen anything like this really since the pandemic days when the whole economy was shut down. And then, of course, we went into that bear market, and then that impressive rebound, triple-digit moves, even four-digit moves were common in those days, too. What's your sense of what's happening here? The volatility index moved up again today by by 2%. How are you holding up in all this volatility?
The volatility can be your friend, Frank, because it allows you to buy great companies or great assets when most people are selling. You want to sell when people are celebrating, and you want to buy when they're complaining, and they've been mostly complaining. We've seen the big three White House initiatives just since February that have investors spooked. And the bark's worse than the bite, as Tom Lee at Fundstat has been saying. The EU tariff threat of a 50% tariff, that got rolled back. The Doge cuts, they turned out to be less than expected. They've led to some concessions. And then the budget bill, less cuts than expected as well. It's led to some concessions. So flexibility is a good thing, and that's what we're seeing.
On the air live with Gabriel Wisdom with American Money Management. And, of course, it's hard to ignore what's happening with cryptos, with some new developments today with apparently a previous policy which discouraged crypto trading in 401ks, for example. Apparently that guidance is being lifted under the Trump administration, which, of course, is much more crypto-oriented and much more crypto-friendly. We saw Bitcoin recently hit a record high. Right now it's hovering at around 107,000. Ethereum at 2,645. Doge at the moment at 22 cents. So what are your thoughts on what's happening with this latest crypto news here?
Well, Frank, the vice president was at the Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas, and he was talking about Bitcoin as a strategically important asset for the United States, not just now, but over the next decade. That means quite a bit. He also mentioned that crypto trading and mining has been banned in China since 2021. He said the People's Republic of China just plainly does not like Bitcoin. That's a net positive for the free world, or for the United States anyway. And then there's the so-called Genius Act. That's a bipartisan act to rein in the stable coins and make them actually stable and safe. This is the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stable Coins, the acronym being GENIUS. And that's a very powerful regulatory framework for stable coins. But here's the irony of it, and the vice president indicated he understood this. Stable coins under the Genius Act will help support the U.S. dollar, because it will require stable coins to guarantee their positions in U.S. treasuries and dollar-denominated assets. That's very powerful.
All right. In the meantime, have you warmed up to crypto now and the various ETF offerings, including Solana and of course Bitcoin, Ethereum already offered, and the list goes on?
Well, I'm not averse to Bitcoin at all. I like different companies that deal in Bitcoin. I'm more interested in the money that can be made off of the trading of these crypto assets, and that's what Wall Street is doing. And many of these firms are profiting as a result of the growing interest in cryptos, and so I want to own those companies.
All right, let's talk about NVIDIA. One in the spotlight here in after-hours trading, popping more than $6 at 140 and change. It was below 100 not too long ago, and I saw an interesting write-up on how buying the dip has worked pretty well this year. What are your thoughts, first of all, on the news on NVIDIA that came out this afternoon?
Well, that was quite a dip. NVIDIA, since President Trump's January 20 inauguration, NVIDIA had plunged to a low in the mid-80s, down some 35% from the high. It's almost recovered. Well, NVIDIA is selling lots and lots of these chips to other mega, huge industrial new economy types of companies, and the standards like Microsoft, Alphabet, Meta platforms. They've reaffirmed their plans to invest heavily in AI and NVIDIA chips. I saw you pictured with NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang at the Milken conference in Los Angeles, and I liked what he said about AI, that you won't lose your job to AI, but you will lose it to someone who uses AI. I believe that's true.
That was one of the big takeaways of the entire conference, and it was big when he showed up there with Michael Milken doing that conversation on stage. So that was really something. So Tesla also has seen a pretty impressive rebound. It had closed down about 6 today to 356 and change, but is up about 7 in after hours trading. What about Tesla here?
Elon Musk has more than Tesla going, and so when you buy Tesla, you're really investing still in Elon Musk to some extent, and to a very large extent. He plans to roll out the robo-taxi edition of the next innovation on, I believe, June 8th, and we'll see if that happens. Musk has also declared his Optimus robot to be the biggest robot product of all time. This is a humanoid that's learned how to learn by watching videos or watching other people. And he's been showing videos of Optimus executing everyday household tasks like vacuuming and
Nightly Scroll with Haley Caronia.
I'm Haley Caronia. I scroll with the homies here in the live chat, and I love my long scrolls on my phone at night. The show is literally called Nightly Scroll. My screen time has reached astronomical levels, but I do it to get all of the videos and all of the content that you won't find anywhere else. I don't want to be surrounded by an echo chamber, so I hope you join me. Someone just said the show is great. Keep it up. Thank you. I will.
Nightly Scroll with Haley Caronia. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Putting the trash in a bin and so forth. So he's on a roll again, I suspect.
All right, let's turning to the broader tech picture. I don't know if you caught this story here. You mentioned Vice President Vance speaking at that Bitcoin conference in Vegas today. There's a report. Vice President Vance lobbied a salvo in an emerging tech industry cultural war at the Bitcoin conference today, branding AI a communist technology, in his words, and casting crypto as a freedom-promoting counterweight. The comments coming today at that big conference. We have some folks there who hopefully will be reporting about all of this tomorrow on this program. But what's your initial reaction to these comments coming out of the crypto conference?
Well, I don't know. I mean, yes, China has upended AI to some extent. DeepSeek comes along out of nowhere, and they've made a major dent in electric vehicles as well, which uses AI with their BYD technology, far cheaper than any of our electric vehicles, with a bigger or greater range. So I don't know. There's the Made in China 2025 initiative, and that's been around for quite some time. They've targeted key technologies, the technologies of tomorrow, essentially, which includes AI, semiconductors, renewable energy, batteries, EV, biotech. I mean, you name it. A few years ago, they invested $1.4 trillion in 5G alone. So, yeah, China's a major player here. I'm not sure AI should be considered, a communist or anti-American innovation.
All right, and what about oil here, which is still in the low 60s? It's been moving higher in the last 24 hours or so, but the oil names have come under pressure this year. Are you doing anything in that space with oil hovering just below $62 a barrel here at the moment?
Yeah, they're not making it anymore, Frank. We've tried. In general aviation, they're working on a synthetic alternative to low-lead gasoline and jet fuel, but I mean, that's so slow. I know the Arab nations are interested in AI and they want to invest away from oil, but in the meantime, the oil companies aren't doing a lot of drilling. I know before the president was elected, he promised to make it far easier to drill for oil, drill baby drill. I mean, we've heard all that, and that's coming along slowly as well. So I like the oil names.
All right. Any other specific places where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table?
Frank, I think the Mag 7 now makes some sense. you could buy the exchange traded fund, MAGS, MAGS, and you get all 7 of them. Because if this is a V-shaped recovery, and I believe it is, then the MAG 7s will lead once again. Then I like those industrials that are off to a solid start this year. I'm talking about IBM, 3M, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Amgen, the old traditionals that lagged so badly last year. This is a worst to first. And then finally, there's a commodity super cycle that may be underway. This includes all the metals like gold, silver, copper, and so forth. This is a very real 11-year cycle, and I think we may be seeing the beginning here.
All right, yeah, platinum getting new attention after clearing $1,000 an ounce recently at $1,074 here at the moment. Do you like platinum here, and any favorites in the metals group?
Well, I do like platinum. I also like palladium as a fallen angel or non-intuitive kind of play. It's used in gas-powered vehicles. White platinum is the primary metal in catalytic converters, for example, and for hybrid vehicles, they need platinum. It makes them more efficient. And so there's a platinum exchange traded fund that people could look at, I suppose. It's a PLTM, Papa Lima Tango Mike. 15 years ago, it was twice today's price, for example.
Terrific. Well, Gabriel Wisdom, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon. Another big day, a lot to unpack, and really appreciate your joining us here. Gabriel Wisdom, Managing Director, American Money Management, based here in Southern California, and author of Wisdom on Value Investing. Gabriel, it's always great to have you with us. Thank you again very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
Thank you, Frank.
Mottek On Money continues, 790 KABC. Some May gray on Wall Street today after a ray of sunshine yesterday in which the Dow gained 700 points. We're back down 245 today at 42,099. The S&P 500 down 33 at 5,889. And the NASDAQ down nearly 100 points at 19,101. The yield in the 10-year note, which impacts fixed-rate mortgage rates, at 4.48%. We'll be taking a closer look at mortgage rates and real estate coming up in the next half hour with Jeff Lazerson, the president of MortgageGrader.com, also Orange County Register real estate columnist. Price of oil hovering just below $62 a barrel, taking a tick higher today. Gold right now at $3,286.50 an ounce. Silver is just in the $32 range here at the moment. We'll take a closer look at that here as well. Platinum is hovering at $1,073 and change. Palladium, mentioned earlier, at $965.50. Taking a look at the cryptos now, we see Bitcoin up about 300 at 107,313. Ethereum up 12 at 2,645. Doge at the moment at 22 cents, and Solana at 170.76. After the closing bell, NVIDIA coming in with earnings that exceeded analysts' expectations. NVIDIA stock had closed down 69 cents at 134.81 and a shot up about $6 in after-hours trading at 140.82. Tesla pulling back 6 at 356.90. And GameStop, one of the meme stocks, which was part of that craze a couple years back, pulling back nearly $4 today at 3,121. Mottek On Money continues here at 790 KABC. Tariff and trade, very much big subject of discussion these days, with the tariff back and forth sending chills through the Southern California port economy. Declining shipments taking a toll on dock workers and truckers, according to a report in the Wall Street Journal this week. All this following a sharp drop in imports into the ports of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach. When I spoke with the head of the Port of Long Beach recently, Chief Executive Mario Cordero, on this program, he said the vessel calls or cancellations that we're seeing are starting to exceed the number that we saw during the COVID pandemic when the global economy was shut down. Let's get an update now on what's happening at the Port of Los Angeles. Gene SROKA is with us live now, the Chief Executive Officer at the Port of Los Angeles. He runs the busiest container port in the United States. Gene SROKA, thank you very much for coming to the line here this afternoon.
Great to be here, Frank.
Wonderful to have you with us here. So take it from the top and give us an update on what's happening there.
The month of May saw 20% of our scheduled arriving cargo vessels canceled. For the month, we'll be down in strong double digits compared to last year. Not as bad as the COVID time, which saw March of 2020 down 50%, 50, but enough to put a shock through the system. One, the dock workers are not getting as many job opportunities on the terminals. Truckers are hauling fewer containers, less business for warehouses. What I do see coming up in June is no big surge after the meetings in Geneva between China and U.S. officials. It's going to be steady, but no big uptick that's going to make an impact on the port complex.
And we haven't talked about the supply chain since the COVID days, but now that's a concern again, right? And already people are talking about the holiday season and how things are going to play out this year. How do you see things coming together?
Well, uncertainty is the topic of every conversation I have with importers and exporters. And still, a 30% tariff on average from China is very expensive for import communities. The retaliatory tariffs are hurting the American farmer, and specifically here in the Central Valley of California. So coming up on the holidays, here's what I see, Frank. One, May is typically the month where retailers put in all their purchase orders in Asia for manufactured goods to come in. Folks are still trying to roll the dice to see, do I order now or do I wait? Because of the whipsaw effect of all the information that's been coming out of Washington. Second, many tell me there will be carrying lower inventory levels. That'll mean fewer selections for American consumers and likely, because of the tightening supply, higher prices at the store.
In the meantime, all of this having an economic ripple effect, especially around the ports of L.A. and Long Beach. I see the Wall Street Journal did an article about this impacting the local economy. Certainly anecdotally, what are you hearing about the business impact here in the Los Angeles area?
Well, that's right. If the dock workers are going out less often than normal, they're not going to be at the store as much. It was noted in that article that Big Nick's Pizza down 15%. Dry cleaners, shops, restaurants, same thing. So we've got to watch this very carefully. At the Harbor Department of Los Angeles, the port, we've had a very strong financial policy for the last decade. We're going to try to accelerate our infrastructure projects, the work on digitization, and on our waterfront. We're going to try to keep those 3,500 construction women and men on the job every day. It'll give us a chance to really move these projects forward fast. Also, I've been talking to the Employers Association. Let's get those dock workers doing preventative maintenance, bumping up the equipment and making sure the terminals are ready, because the cargo will come back sooner, hopefully, than later, and we're going to be ready.
And you're just coming off a very big weekend there, the Memorial Day holiday weekend with Fleet Week at the Port of Los Angeles. That must have had a positive impact. Tell us about what happened there over the weekend.
Absolutely. Our 7th annual Fleet Week, and thanks to the United States Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Merchant Marine, we had folks from the entire region out thanking our service men and women for all that they do. Our restaurants were full. There were so many activities and receptions, and that now lets us pivot to the fact that Royal Caribbean Cruise Line is bringing in the Ovation of the Seas vessel, which will be home ported at the Port of Los Angeles. It'll be the largest cruise ship with more than...
I'm Paula Pan. I help people make the smartest money decisions possible. Because let's face it, money's too important to wing it.
What you'll hear is a couple money geeks sitting and talking about this stuff that we're so passionate about.
You name it. Anything that's on your mind. Retirement, debt, student loans, saving for college.
It's a personal finance journey. It is a wide-ranging squirrel conversation about the topic of personal finance and good financial planning. Super fun.
Afford anything. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
4,900 passengers to be home ported at the Port of Los Angeles. Very exciting time for us. 1,500 crew members aboard, and this will be the start of, again, another great year for cruising at the Port of L.A.
See it tonight, read about it tomorrow, but hear it now on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC, on the air live with Gene SROKA, the Chief Executive Officer of the Port of Los Angeles. That is big news, and certainly the cruise industry, which we talk about certainly on this program, deserves even more attention. So that is big news with the Ovation coming to the Port of L.A. Tell us more about the new ships and everything else that's happening there at the cruise port.
Well, because the response from the cruise industry has been so strong. You know, Frank, as we've talked about, we're the largest drive market in the country. You can get in a car in Riverside in the morning, come out to San Pedro, have lunch, and be on that 4 o'clock sailing to the Mexican Riviera. The strength of this market has been so great that we're building a new cruise terminal at the outer harbor. Think of Berth 46, and we're going to start negotiations after a public bid on how we can build this out with professional companies and investors that'll bring even more cruise opportunities to LA.
That is very exciting. Princess Cruises, of course, made the cruise industry famous there with the Love Boat, the Southern California-based cruise line. And Princess certainly has had new ships come through there as well, right? Give us an update on what they're doing these days.
Oh, they've been fantastic, headquartered in Santa Clarita, and you're right, the iconic berth number 93, which is at the opening and closing of the Love Boat Show, which is still in syndication on television and streaming platforms today, Frank. Those folks have been our number one customer at the Port of Los Angeles for so long, and it's helped us attract others like Norwegian Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean, MSC, Mediterranean Shipping Company, known for their cargo business around the world, is now jumping into this arena as well. We're so proud of the attraction that's been created at the port, and we're going to keep taking it because our cruise passengers just love coming down to the waterfront.
Does it look like a record year for the cruise business there?
I think it will be, just topping last year, which was 1.3 million passengers, our best year in over 2 decades. So we're going to build on that momentum, continue our investment, and with the remodeled West Harbor retail dining and entertainment area, the old ports of call, as you'll remember, we're ready to open restaurants here later this year. And thanks to Jericho Development, the Ratkovich family, we're going to be another centerpiece to have from all the way along that promenade, the ability to entertain visitors and get them on the cruise ships to their destinations.
That is truly fantastic. And speaking of big ships, those cargo ships keep getting bigger and bigger. I remember seeing you at the christening of the Benjamin Franklin, which at the time was the biggest cargo ship in the world, I believe, at your neighbor there in Long Beach. I had the honor of doing the christening ceremony there with you and other dignitaries. Are the ships getting bigger? And tell us about some of the big the cargo vessels that are coming through there now.
Oh, they sure are, Frank. The Benjamin Franklin, named after the United States' first ambassador to France, was brought in by the iconic company CMA CGM, headquartered in Marseille. 18,000 container units. It was the biggest at the time, the day after Christmas in 2015, when it called Los Angeles at the APMT Pier 400 facility. Since then, we've handled the Mediterranean Shipping Company's Isabella, named for the daughter of Fabio Santucci, who runs their North American operation. 23,000 container units. The Port of Los Angeles still holds the world record for loading and unloading the largest amount of containers ever in one port call. 34,000 container units. Record set at the Port of LA's Pier 400. Those ships are going to keep getting bigger, and that's why we're investing so much in our infrastructure, our digital computer programs, cybersecurity to protect all those interests. There are bright days ahead. Trade policy is in our line of sight today. I'm hoping that all of this comes to the point where we can get back to some certainty, but also open up new markets for our exporters. LA County has the largest base of employment. More than 400,000 of us go to work every day in the manufacturing sector, yet we export only 1% of those products. Let's open up new markets, get deeper into current markets, and continue to make this Port of Los Angeles and Long Beach the gateway for American transport.
That is very, very exciting. You are an unsung hero here. I'm sure many people don't even realize all the great information that you just provided, the importance of the port complex, Port of Los Angeles, and then, of course, the Port of Long Beach, your neighbors there, the largest port complex certainly in the country. And certainly China is still a very important trading partner, the biggest, right, between here and there. I know there's a big China-California Summit, Economic Forum. I'll be there, too, and I think you'll be there as well next week. Tell us about the importance of this trade relationship.
You're exactly right, Frank. Our number one trading partner, China, by about 2.5 times. Our next largest in Japan. 45% of our business portfolio at the Port of Los Angeles is trade with China. But, Frank, it was 60% of our business back in 2018. And we've seen that manufacturing migrate to Southeast Asian nations, and we've been chasing the cargo. Even though China's percentage of business with us has declined, we've continued to grow. The only port in the Western Hemisphere that's moved more than 10 million containers, and we've done it twice. That's because we've been hustling after that business, and the liner shipping companies have been putting in the good nonstop services to make sure we're competitive. That speed component is our go-to-market value proposition, and we're going to keep it front and center for the import and export community.
Fantastic. Gene SROKA, thank you very much for that comprehensive update on what's happening at the Port of Los Angeles. Gene SROKA, the Chief Executive Officer at the Port of Los Angeles, the busiest container port in the United States. Gene SROKA, thank you very much for coming to the line here this afternoon.
Always great speaking with you, Frank.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, and let's do this more often. Really appreciate it. Frank Mottek here for United Gold Group. Did you know that for more than 10,000 years, gold has been the greatest store of value and considered a safe haven asset to preserve your wealth? Now with the U.S. debt at more than $36 trillion and climbing, a possible recession on the horizon, and the development of the digital dollar, central bank digital currency, it's more critical now than ever before to safeguard your assets like your cash savings and retirement accounts with physical gold. Opening a gold IRA is one of the best ways to secure your wealth and create a stable financial future. Stop worrying about your retirement in the markets and cash savings in the bank. Feel confident, prepared, and in control with physical gold and silver. Give my friends at United Gold Group a call. Call right now, 800-753-8534. Mention Mottek, and you get $1,000 worth of silver with a qualifying purchase. Call now, 800-753-8534, or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com. Mottek On Money continues here, 790 KABC. Good afternoon. What's the latest on mortgage rates and home prices? Well, let's bring in the expert now, Jeff LAZERSON, the president of MortgageGrader.com, also Orange County Register real estate columnist. Jeff, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Frank. Well, the mortgage rates it's a whipsaw. One day it's up, next day it's down, and today the 30-year fix is at 6 5/8% at one point cost. That's up to $806,500. The 15-year fix is at 5 5/8%, and then the agency high balance that goes from $806,501 in Orange and LA County to $1,209,750. So the high balance 30 years at 6 7/8 at one point, and the 15 years at 6 1/8% at one point. Jumbo loans, anything over that, are at 6 5/8% at one point. So 6 is all the way through.
All right, so the tariff drama is creating drama in the bond market. The yield in the 10-year note today is 4.48%. That's the one that impacts the fixed rate mortgage rates that you just mentioned. So a lot of movement in that index, in that yield. Where do you see the rates go from here, given the uncertainty and the volatility we've been seeing in the usually stable bond market?
Yeah.
No Contest Wrestling. O'Shea Jackson Jr. and TJ Jefferson with the biggest names in the game.
Give it up for the Dark Angel.
First
First.
I can believe it.
NXT double champion. Welcome the King, Lex is King.
I don't know if I'd be where I'm at now if I didn't take the path that I took.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jada Parker.
What made you, after the soccer career, go WWE?
The answer I always have to that is like, why not?
The No Contest Wrestling Podcast, part of the Rich Eisen Podcast Network. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
It's crazy times right now. The investors are losing confidence in investing in America and in the Treasury bonds. So consequently, you have to pay more for those bonds, and the yield goes up, and that means the rates get a lot worse. So my sense is that we'll see rates go up for a while, and then I more and more I see this recession coming, and then when the recession hits, rates will drop, and I would say by the end of the year you'll see rates under 6%. That's where I peg it.
See it tonight, read about it tomorrow, but hear it now on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC, live on the air with Jeff LAZERSON, the president of MortgageGrader.com and Orange County Register real estate columnist. Jeff, based on the latest readings on home prices nationwide from the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Index, any canaries in the coal mine here? It looks like Tampa saw a significant drop. Remember, during the financial crisis days, it was San Diego that showed a notable drop, and that kind of got the ball rolling. But I'm sure you've taken note of this and how prices are here. Looks like the rate of increase has certainly throttled back. What do you see ahead on the home price front here now?
Well, the canary in the coal mine, Frank, is right here in our backyard. I was just talking to somebody the other day. There's a new build home project in the Great Park in Irvine. Irvine is very sought after. There's 47 standing homes that are ready built for sale and no buyers. And these builders, they do all kinds of things to get property sold. They do these huge rate buy downs and anything else. And properties are sitting. So it's definitely flattening out. There's the big debate now about, is it really a buyer's market yet, or is it still a seller's market? I think it's turning right now into a buyer's market. And so if you are thinking about buying, if you've been on the sidelines for the last few years, now would be a good time to jump in, because there's so many price reductions out there. If you look on the multiple listing service, reduction, and we're seeing it all over the place. So now is, forget the interest rate thing. Interest rates will come down, but now it's the time to find your choice of a house.
You're, of course, also watching what's happening in the fire-ravaged areas of the Palisades, Malibu, and Altadena, and we're seeing some interesting activity there. We've seen the latest headlines. Palisades real estate market faces mounting inventory, falling land values amid rebuild. We've seen fire-charred lots going for a fortune, and anecdotally some big price spikes in that area. How do you see things in that area, and how will it impact real estate here in the Los Angeles area?
Well, it's kind of a microcosm of the whole, greater LA area. I mean, it's a tragedy what happened, and many thousands of homes, burned down. That's never good. But in the bigger scheme of things, it's really not a lot of, homes for the entire county. So what we're seeing is that people are moving to Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, just, close by there. As far as the land value, there's a lot of speculation going on, and people paying up big money for the lots, but that gain is not going to be realized for a long time. It's probably at least a few years till you can, till most people can get their houses all built the way they want it and stuff. So I think that's going to cool off a little bit. And I think it's just like, like the tulip, what was it? The tulip, not the tulip trend,
craze.
But the craze. Mania. So, that's kind of what, yeah. So that's kind of the way I see it. I think that's going to cool down real soon.
All right. And how's your business doing?
Frank, I am really busy. And I mean, I am the busiest I have been in about 2.5 years.
Wow.
It's just, it's been great. I mean, it's purchases, refinances, second mortgages, you name it, people want to do it. And I'm happy as heck about it. A lot of buyers out there right now for the properties, for those cheaper properties, or the discounted properties, I should say. So it's good times right now.
Good to hear, Jeff. Well, you tell it like it is, so thank you very much for that. Jeff LAZERSON, the president of MortgageGrader.com, also Orange County Register real estate columnist. Thank you very much for joining us live here, Jeff, on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC. Stay tuned now, 790 KABC News Blitz with Randy Wang. And I'll be back with more at 4 tomorrow afternoon right here on Mottek On Money, 790 KABC.
Nightly Scroll with Haley Carania.
I'm Haley Carania. I scroll with the homies here in the live chat, and I love my long scrolls on my phone at night. The show is literally called Nightly Scroll. My screen time has reached astronomical levels, but I do it to get all of the videos and all of the content that you won't find anywhere else. I don't want to be surrounded by an echo chamber, so I hope you join me. Someone just said the show is great. Keep it up. Thank you. I will.
Nightly Scroll with Haley Carania. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.